I couldn't reach my son Marcus for 7 straight days. When I finally drove 3 hours to check on him, I discovered my grandson Tyler curled up in a bedroom closet, surviving on crackers and tap water, whispering words that shattered my world. Grandpa Mommy was here that night. The truth has a way of hiding in dark corners, waiting for innocent eyes to witness what evil hearts can do. What my 9-year-old grandson saw would expose how greed poisoned a mother's soul, turning her into a killer willing to destroy her child's father for $750,000 in blood. Money. Sometimes justice wears the face of a child, and sometimes a grandfather's love becomes the only shield against unspeakable betrayal. Before I share the terrifying details of that silent week, please subscribe and tell us in the comments where you're listening from. Stories like this remind us why family bonds matter more than money. What I'm about to tell you happened just 6 months ago, but it feels like a lifetime. It began on an ordinary Tuesday morning when my weekly phone call to my son went unanswered. Every Tuesday at 9 a.m., my phone would ring with Marcus calling to check in, or I'd call him. We'd been doing this dance for years, ever since my grandson Tyler was born 9 years ago. Marcus was reliable that way, even after his messy divorce 3 months back. Construction foreman, single dad, doing his best to keep everything together. Our Tuesday calls were sacred, like Sunday dinner used to be when his mother was still alive. That particular Tuesday morning, I sat at my kitchen table with my coffee in the sports section waiting for the phone to ring. 9:15 came and went. By 9:30, I picked up my old rotary phone. Yeah, I still use the landline Sue me and dialed his number. Voicemail. You've reached Marcus Pierce. Leave a message and I'll call you back. Hey son, it's your old man. Just checking in. Call me when you get a chance. Construction work was unpredictable. Early morning emergencies, equipment breakdowns. I understood that from my mechanic days. But Marcus always called back, usually within an hour or two. By evening, still nothing. I tried again during Tyler's homework time, straight to voicemail. This time I couldn't keep the concern out of my voice. Marcus, it's Dad again. Just want to make sure everything's okay with you and Tyler. Wednesday brought more silence. I called at 6:30 thinking I'd catch him before work. Nothing. The knot in my stomach was getting tighter. That same feeling I used to get when a customer's engine made sounds that meant expensive trouble ahead. Thursday, I called his construction company. Bill Henderson, his foreman, sounded surprised. Dawson Marcus didn't show Monday. Figured he had the flu. You know how reliable he usually is. Monday. Marcus had missed work since Monday, and here it was Thursday. That knot turned into a fist of ice. Friday morning, I called Mrs. Dorothy Hayes across the street from Marcus. Sweet retired teacher, always kept an eye on the neighborhood. Her voice was careful, like she'd been dreading this conversation. Oh, Dawson, I saw lights on Sunday night, but I haven't seen his truck move all week. Haven't seen little Tyler playing in the yard either. Sunday night, the last sign of life anyone had noticed. Saturday, I barely slept. Called Brittany's old number, disconnected. Called Tyler's school, he'd been absent all week, no explanation. By Sunday morning, I couldn't take it anymore. 64 years old, and I was packing an overnight bag like I was heading into battle. Spare clothes, medications, the spare key Marcus had given me years ago. The 3-hour drive felt endless. My pickup hummed along the interstate while my mind raced through possibilities. Maybe Marcus took Tyler on vacation. Maybe there was a family emergency. Maybe his phone broke. But that mechanic's instinct, the one that had never steered me wrong in 30 years of diagnosing problems, was screaming that something was terribly wrong. Marcus wasn't the type to disappear without word. He was responsible, the kind of father who called if he was running 10 minutes late. As I pulled into his subdivision hands, white-knuckling the steering wheel, I tried to prepare myself for whatever I was about to find. 30 years of fixing broken things had taught me that sometimes the damage runs deeper than what you can see on the surface. Nothing could have prepared me for what was waiting in that quiet house. Marcus's truck sat in the driveway like it had been there for days. A thin layer of dust on the windshield newspapers piled up on the front porch. The house looked normal from the outside, white siding, blue shutters, the kind of suburban home that whispered, "Everything's fine here." But 30 years of diagnosing problems had taught me to look deeper. I knocked. First rang the doorbell. Nothing. The silence felt heavy, unnatural for a house that should have a 9-year-old boy running around. I tried the door handle, unlocked. That stopped me cold. Marcus was security conscious, especially since the divorce. He never left doors unlocked. "Marcus Tyler, it's Grandpa." My voice echoed through the empty hallway. The living room made my blood run cold. The coffee table was pushed at an odd angle, one leg slightly bent. A lamp lay on its side behind the couch. Not obvious damage, but wrong enough that my mechanic's eye caught it immediately. Someone had been in a hurry to clean up, but they'd missed the details. I moved through the house methodically. Kitchen dishes and the sink coffee maker still plugged in with old coffee burned to the bottom. Marcus's home office papers scattered chair, pushed away from the desk, like someone had gotten up quickly. Marcus, your old man's here, I called out, climbing the stairs with legs that felt heavier with each step. His bedroom looked lived in but empty. Bed unmade clothes on the floor, not like the neat Marcus I knew. My heart was hammering against my ribs as I approached Tyler's room. Tyler, Grandpa brought you those car magazines. I pushed open the door to his bedroom. Toys scattered, normally bed made. The room looked empty, abandoned. I was about to leave when I heard a faint scratching sound like something small, moving against wood. I froze listening. There it was again, coming from the closet. Tyler, are you in there, buddy? A weak tapping sound answered me. Deliberate. Someone was in that closet. My hand shook as I slid open the closet door. Behind the hanging clothes, curled up in the back corner, was Tyler, my grandson, barely conscious, clutching a small toy car to his chest. His lips were cracked, his eyes barely open, but when he saw me, the faintest smile crossed his face. Grandpa, his voice was barely a whisper. Tyler, it's okay. You're safe now, son. I knelt down my knees, protesting, and gently touched his forehead, burning hot, dehydrated. How long had he been in here? He tried to sit up but couldn't. I could see he'd been surviving on whatever he could reach, an empty juice box, some crackers scattered around him. Smart boy, rationing what little he had. Where's Daddy? He whispered. The question hit me like a punch to the gut. I didn't have an answer. We're going to find him, buddy. But first, we need to get you some help. I carefully lifted Tyler from the closet. He weighed almost nothing like a bird with broken wings. His clothes were dirty, and he smelled like he'd been trapped in that small space for days. With Tyler cradled in one arm, I fumbled for my cell phone with the other. My fingers could barely dial the numbers. 911, what's your emergency? My grandson's alive, but barely. And my son, I think something terrible happened here. The dispatcher's voice seemed to come from far away as I gave the address, explained what I'd found. Tyler's head rested against my shoulder, his breathing shallow but steady. Whatever had happened in this house, Tyler had survived it. But as I held him waiting for the ambulance, one terrifying question echoed in my mind. If Tyler was hiding in that closet for days, where the hell was Marcus? The paramedics worked with quiet efficiency, checking Tyler's vitals, while I hovered nearby like a protective shadow. IV line in his thin arm oxygen mask over his small face. He looked so fragile against the white ambulance stretcher, but his eyes stayed locked on mine. Severe dehydration, possible malnutrition. The lad paramedic reported into his radio. 9-year-old male, conscious but weak. ETA to Children's Hospital, 12 minutes. I rode in the ambulance holding Tyler's free hand. Every bump in the road made me wince, but he squeezed my fingers whenever I started to pull away. Smart kid, he knew I wasn't going anywhere. The emergency room exploded into controlled chaos when we arrived. Nurses, doctors, machines beeping. I tried to stay close, but they wheeled Tyler behind curtains where I couldn't follow. Sir, we need some information. A young nurse with kind eyes guided me to a chair. Are you the grandfather, Dawson Pierce? His father's missing. The word tasted bitter. She took notes while I provided what I could. Tyler's medical history, emergency contacts, insurance information. My hands shook as I signed forms, the reality sinking in. Tyler was safe, but Marcus was still out there somewhere. The boy's stable, Dr. Martinez told me an hour later. Dehydrated, malnourished, but no permanent damage. He's a tough kid. How long was he alone? Best guess since Sunday night, maybe Monday morning. The doctor's eyebrows rose. 6 days. That's remarkable survival instinct for a 9-year-old. Before I could respond, a tall man in a rumpled suit approached. Detective Miller, according to his badge. Graying hair, tired eyes that had seen too much. Mr. Pierce, I understand you reported your son missing. I explained the timeline, the missed calls, the week of silence finding Tyler in the closet. Detective Miller took notes, nodding occasionally. Any idea why your son might have left town? Family emergency work issues? Relationship problems? Marcus doesn't just disappear. He's responsible especially with Tyler. Something happened to him. We'll file a missing person report check with his employer canvass the neighborhood. Sometimes single parents get overwhelmed. Not Marcus. My voice came out sharper than intended. He'd never leave Tyler alone like that. The detective studied me for a moment, then nodded. We'll treat this seriously, Mr. Pierce. Can I speak with the boy? He's been through hell. Be gentle. Tyler's hospital room felt too bright, too sterile. But when he saw me, his face lit up with the first real smile I'd seen all day. The IV bags dripped steadily color, slowly returning back to his cheeks. Grandpa, you stayed. Of course I stayed, buddy. I'm not going anywhere. Detective Miller pulled up a chair, his voice soft and patient. Tyler, I'm Detective Miller. I'm trying to help find your dad. Can you tell me the last time you saw him? Tyler's eyes darted to me, then back to the detective. His small hand found mine under the blanket. It was nighttime, he whispered. There was yelling. My blood went cold. Yelling. Tyler's grip tightened on my hand. His voice was barely audible, but every word hit like a hammer blow. Grandpa, I heard scary voices. The words scary voices hung in the hospital room like a dark cloud. Detective Miller leaned forward in his chair, his pen poised over his notepad, but I could see the concern in his eyes. Tyler, I said gently, squeezing his small hand. Can you tell us more about those voices? But Tyler had retreated back into himself, exhausted from even that small revelation. His eyelids drooped, and within minutes he was asleep, still clutching my hand. Detective Miller and I stepped into the hallway. Mr. Pierce, that boy may be our only witness to whatever happened, but he's been through trauma. We need to handle this carefully. He's just a kid, I said, my voice rougher than intended. He's been hiding in the closet for 6 days. I understand. I'm calling in Dr. Emily Roberts. She's a child psychologist who specializes in trauma cases. She knows how to talk to kids without pushing too hard. That night, I slept in the chair beside Tyler's bed. Every time he stirred or whimpered in his sleep, I was there. The nurses checked on him regularly, adjusting his IV, monitoring his recovery. By morning, color had returned to his cheeks. Dr. Emily Roberts arrived around 9, carrying a bag full of art supplies. She had kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses, and the patient demeanor of someone who'd spent years earning children's trust. Hi, Tyler. I'm Dr. Roberts, but you can call me Miss Emily if you want. She pulled up a chair. Your grandpa says you're pretty brave. Tyler glanced at me, then back at her, still holding that toy car like a lifeline. Can you tell me how you stayed safe while you were hiding? She asked, spreading paper and crayons on his bedside table. Daddy told me to hide in my closet until he called for me, so I waited. Tyler's voice was stronger today. I had snacks in my toy box, crackers and fruit snacks, and juice boxes under my bed. My heart ached listening to him describe his 6-day ordeal. When the juice was gone, I crawled to the bathroom for water from the sink. I made a bed with my pillows and talked to Lightning. He held up the toy car. Every day I listened for Daddy to call me out, but he never did. Dr. Roberts nodded encouragingly. You were very brave, Tyler. Can you tell me about those scary voices you mentioned to your grandpa? Tyler started drawing a small figure in a dark space. It was Sunday night, raining really hard. I was building with Legos when the doorbell rang lots of times. Daddy looked scared and told me to hide right away. Detective Miller had quietly entered and stood by the door. I hid behind my winter coats. Then I heard people come in. 2 people. Mommy and a man with a deep voice. The word mommy hit me like a punch to the gut. Brittany. Mommy was yelling at Daddy really loud about money. She kept saying he owed her. The man said mean things. Then there was pushing and shouting, and Tyler's crayon pressed harder against the paper. Everything went quiet, really, really quiet. Tears rolled down his cheeks. I wanted to find Daddy, but I was scared. I kept waiting for him to call me, but he never did. Detective Miller stepped forward carefully. Tyler, are you sure it was your mommy? I know her voice. The man, she called him Derek. Derek, a name to go with the voice. Detective Miller looked at me with grim understanding. Mr. Pierce, this is now a homicide investigation. We'll issue an APB for Brittany Parker and Derek. In the hallway, his expression was grave. There's something else. We found your son's financial records. There's a life insurance policy, and given what happened with their divorce 3 months ago. 2 days later, Detective Miller asked me to accompany him back to Marcus's house. The crime scene tape was still up, a yellow reminder of the nightmare that had unfolded there. I wasn't sure I was ready, but I needed to see this through. The forensics team had been thorough. Luminol revealed what the naked eye had missed, blood spatter on the living room wall, more on the hardwood floor near the coffee table's sharp corner. Your son put up a fight, Detective Miller said quietly. The blood pattern suggests he was pushed, hit his head on the table edge. Significant trauma. I stared at the outline where Marcus had fallen, my hands clenched into fists. My boy, my responsible, caring son, murdered in his own home. The insurance policy, I said. Tell me about that. Detective Miller opened his folder. $750,000. Marcus purchased it when Tyler was born, named Brittany as beneficiary. After their divorce 3 months ago, he never changed it. $750,000, enough to kill for, apparently. Why didn't he update it? I asked, though I suspected I knew the answer. According to his co-workers, he'd been meaning to. Said he needed to take care of paperwork after the divorce, but work kept him busy. Brittany knew she was still listed. She'd helped him organize his finances when they were married. We drove to Marcus's construction site, where I spoke with Bill Henderson and the crew. They painted a picture of a man struggling with recent changes but devoted to his son. Marcus mentioned Brittany had gotten into cryptocurrency trading, Bill told me. Lost big, kept asking him to cover her losses. He helped her twice, paid off maybe $40,000-$50,000 total. But the third time he said no. When was this? Right before they divorced. Marcus said he couldn't keep throwing good money after bad, especially with Tyler to think about. Brittany didn't take it well. The pieces were falling into place. Brittany's crypto losses, Marcus's refusal to enable her addiction anymore, the divorce, and now the insurance money she desperately needed. Back at the station, Detective Miller showed me security footage from a neighbor's camera, blurry but clear enough to show a sedan parked outside Marcus's house Sunday night, around the time Tyler described hearing the voices. "We're running the partial license plate through DMV records," he said, "and we've got more." Mrs. Hayes, the neighbor across the street, had been more observant than she'd initially let on. When pressed, she admitted seeing two figures leaving Marcus's house late Sunday night. I thought about calling police," she said, wringing her hands, "but it was raining so hard and I figured it was family business. I should have called." "Don't blame yourself," I told her. "You couldn't have known." But the guilt in her eyes mirrored my own. If I'd driven down sooner, if I'd trusted my instincts earlier, would Marcus still be alive? Detective Miller's phone buzzed. He answered, listened, then hung up with a grim smile. "We got a hit on the license plate. The car belongs to Derek Stevens, 35 years old. Address in the city, and get this, he's registered as a cryptocurrency investment advisor." Derek Stevens, the man with the deep voice Tyler had heard. Brittany's accomplice and apparently her crypto mentor turned partner in murder. "We're bringing him in for questioning," Detective Miller said. "And Mr. Pierce. We're going to get them both. Your son's going to get justice." As we left the station, I thought about Tyler still recovering in the hospital, still asking when Daddy was coming home. Soon I'd have to tell him the truth. But first, I wanted to make sure the people who destroyed our family would pay for what they'd done. The next morning, Derek Stevens didn't run when they came for him. Detective Miller called me from the arrest scene, a rundown apartment complex on the east side of town. Derek had been holed up there since Sunday night, apparently waiting for this moment. "He's not what I expected," Detective Miller told me later at the station. Nervous sweating, but not the hardened criminal type. More like someone in over his head. I watched through the one-way glass as they brought Derek into the interview room. Mid-30s, average height, the kind of guy who'd blend into any crowd. His hands shook as he sat down, and he kept glancing at the door like he wanted to bolt. "Mr. Stevens," Detective Miller began, "we have evidence placing you at Marcus Pierce's house Sunday night. A 9-year-old boy heard your voice. We found your car on security footage." Derek's composure cracked immediately. "I didn't want anyone to get hurt. She said it would be simple, just scare him a little." You mean Brittany Parker?" "Brittany told me Marcus had stolen money from her. Crypto investments they'd made together. She said he owed her over $200,000. Derek's voice was getting higher, more desperate. I believed her. She showed me trading records losses that looked real. Detective Miller slid a folder across the table. "These are the actual trading records, Mr. Stevens. Brittany Parker lost that money through her own reckless trading. Marcus Pierce had nothing to do with it." Derek stared at the papers, his face going pale. "She lied to me? Tell us what really happened Sunday night." Derek's story came out in broken pieces. He'd met Brittany through an online cryptocurrency forum where he offered investment advice. She'd seemed desperate, claimed her ex-husband had cheated her out of money during their divorce. She said Marcus had a hidden wallet with Bitcoin worth hundreds of thousands. All we had to do was get him to transfer it back to her. Derek wiped sweat from his forehead. "When we got there, she started yelling about insurance money, about how he owed her for all the years she'd supported his career. That wasn't part of the plan." "What was the plan?" "Scare him into giving up the crypto wallet." "But there was no wallet, was there? She'd made it all up." Detective Miller leaned forward. "What happened when Marcus refused?" "Brittany lost it. Started screaming about how he'd left her with all this debt, how she'd helped build his life and deserved that money. Marcus tried to calm her down, said he'd already helped her twice and couldn't do it anymore." Derek's voice dropped to a whisper. "She pushed him. I tried to grab her, but Marcus stumbled backward and hit the coffee table. And then there was so much blood. Brittany panicked, said we had to make it look like an accident, or we'd both go to prison. She knew about the insurance policy, said it would solve all her problems." The room fell silent except for Derek's ragged breathing. "Where's Marcus Pierce's body, Mr. Stevens?" "There's a storage facility outside town, Unit 247. She rented it under a fake name, paid cash." Derek looked up with desperate eyes. "I swear I didn't know about the insurance until after. She used me." Detective Miller stepped outside where I was waiting. "He's telling the truth about being manipulated, but he's still an accessory to murder. The storage unit checks out. We found Marcus." My legs nearly gave out. Hearing it confirmed made it real in a way that nothing else had. "What about Brittany?" "Stevens says she's been moving between cheap motels paying cash. But we traced her phone. She made a mistake, called her sister in Phoenix this morning." Detective Miller's radio crackled. "We've got her location, Motel 6 on Highway 33. We've located Brittany Parker," he told me. "She's about to be arrested." They didn't find Brittany at the motel. By the time police arrived at the Highway 33 location, she'd already vanished like smoke. The desk clerk remembered her nervous woman paid cash left before dawn, without checking out properly. But desperation has a way of making smart people do stupid things, and Brittany Parker was running on pure panic now. Detective Miller's call came at 2 in the afternoon. We got her. Downtown Greyhound Station trying to board a bus to Tijuana with fake identification. Had a whole new identity ready, Sarah Mitchell, complete with driver's license and social security card. I drove downtown to see for myself, needing to witness this moment. Through the window of the police cruiser, Brittany looked like a completely different person from the woman who'd once sat at my dinner table, laughing at Marcus's jokes and helping Tyler with his homework. Her naturally blonde hair was dyed jet black, chopped short and uneven like she'd done it herself in a motel bathroom. Dark circles shadowed her eyes, and her clothes were wrinkled from days of running. When she saw me standing on the sidewalk, her expression shifted from defiance to something that might have been shame. For just a moment, I saw a flicker of the young woman Marcus had fallen in love with all those years ago. Then her face hardened again. She had $1,500 in cash, 3 sets of fake documents, and a bus ticket to Mexico. Detective Miller told me as we walked into the station. Been planning this escape route for days, maybe weeks. This wasn't a crime of passion, this was calculated. At the police station, I positioned myself behind the one-way glass to watch her interrogation. Unlike Derek's nervous, guilt-ridden confession, Brittany was still trying to control the narrative, still calculating how to minimize her culpability. It was Derek's idea from the beginning. She insisted, her voice steady despite the handcuffs. I just wanted to talk to Marcus about the money he owed me. Derek's the one who got violent when Marcus refused to help. Detective Miller spread crime scene photos across the table. Funny thing, Mrs. Parker, Mr. Stevens tells a different story. Says you masterminded the whole operation. Says you specifically told him about a $750,000 life insurance policy. That's when Brittany's careful composure began to crack. Her hands trembled slightly as she stared at the photos of Marcus's living room, the blood evidence, the overturned furniture. Marcus owed me that money, she said, her voice rising. Do you understand what I sacrificed for him? I worked 2 jobs to put him through trade school. I took care of Tyler while he built his construction business. When he left me, he destroyed my financial future. So you destroyed his life? It wasn't supposed to happen like that. The words exploded out of her. I just needed him to understand what I was going through. The crypto losses, the margin calls, creditors calling 20 times a day, threatening to garnish my wages. I was about to lose my apartment, my car, everything. What about losing your son? That question hit her like a physical blow. For the first time since her arrest, I saw genuine emotion break through her defensive walls. Her face crumpled and tears started flowing. Tyler wasn't supposed to be there, she whispered. Marcus told me Tyler was staying at Dawson's house for the week. If I'd known he was home, I never would have. She couldn't finish the sentence. He was hiding in his bedroom closet for 6 days, Brittany. 6 days surviving on crackers and bathroom water, waiting for his father to come get him out of hiding. She broke down completely, then sobbing into her handcuffed hands. But watching her cry didn't give me the satisfaction I'd expected. It just felt hollow, pointless. Marcus was still gone, Tyler was still traumatized, and our family was still shattered. Both Brittany and Derek were formally charged with first-degree murder the next day. The evidence was overwhelming: Derek's detailed confession, the storage unit with Marcus's body, Tyler's eyewitness testimony, the insurance motive, and the attempted flight to Mexico. The prosecutor announced she'd be seeking life sentences for both defendants. Bail was denied. Back at the hospital, Tyler was making remarkable progress. Dr. Roberts said his resilience was extraordinary for a child his age. The physical effects of his 6-day ordeal were healing. He'd gained back most of the weight he'd lost, and his color had returned to normal. But the emotional recovery would take much longer. "Grandpa," Tyler said one afternoon as we worked on a 1,000-piece puzzle of a vintage car, "why did Mommy want to hurt Daddy? How do you explain greed and desperation to a 9-year-old? How do you tell a child that his mother valued insurance money more than his father's life? Sometimes grown-ups make very bad choices when they're scared and angry, buddy. Your mommy owed a lot of money to some bad people, and she thought the only way to fix it was to hurt Daddy. But that was wrong, and now she has to face the consequences. Will I have to see her again? Not if you don't want to. You're safe with me now." The custody paperwork was surprisingly straightforward. I was Tyler's closest living relative, and despite the tragic circumstances, I was determined to provide him with the stable, loving home Marcus would have wanted for his son. 3 weeks after the arrest, Detective Miller visited us at my house. Tyler had been discharged from the hospital, and we were slowly building our new life together in my small Ohio town. The trial's scheduled to begin in 4 weeks, he told me privately while Tyler played with his toy cars in the backyard. Derek's attorney is pushing for a plea bargain, but the prosecutor isn't interested in anything less than 25 years. Brittany's lawyer is trying an insanity defense, claiming emotional distress from the divorce. He paused, watching Tyler make engine noises as he drove his cars around an imaginary track. Tyler's testimony will be crucial to securing convictions. The jury needs to hear what he witnessed, what he survived. Are you both prepared for that? I looked at my grandson, still so small, but displaying a courage that humbled me daily. We'll do whatever it takes to get justice for Marcus. The trial starts next month. Are you prepared to testify? The courthouse was packed the morning of the trial. Local news crews lined the steps, and Marcus's construction crew filled the front rows. Tyler held my hand tightly as we walked through the crowd, his small fingers trembling despite his brave face. Just tell the truth, I whispered. I'll be right here with you. District Attorney Sarah Chen presented the case methodically crime scene photos, forensic evidence financial records, showing Brittany's desperation and the insurance motive. When Tyler took the witness stand, the courtroom fell silent. He looked impossibly small in that chair, but his voice was clear as he recounted that terrible Sunday night. He told them about hiding in the closet, hearing his mother's angry voice, the sudden silence that followed. I waited for Daddy to call me out like he promised, Tyler said, looking at the jury. But he never did. Several jurors wiped their eyes. Brittany's attorney tried painting her as a desperate mother, driven to temporary insanity. But Derek's testimony destroyed any sympathy she might have earned. She planned everything, Derek said steadily. She knew about the insurance policy, knew she was still the beneficiary. She told me Marcus had stolen crypto from her that was a lie. She needed me to help move the body, make it look like he'd disappeared. Brittany's face went white as Derek continued. She said we'd split the insurance money and start fresh. I was stupid enough to believe her. Why testify against Mrs. Parker now? Derek looked at Tyler, then at me. Because a 9-year-old spent 6 days alone thinking his father abandoned him. Marcus Pierce didn't deserve to die. The jury deliberated 4 hours, guilty on all counts. Brittany received life without parole. Derek got 25 years. As the verdicts were read, I felt Marcus's presence in that courtroom. Justice was served, but it couldn't bring him back or erase Tyler's trauma. It could only ensure his killers paid the price. 6 months later, Tyler and I had found our rhythm. I'd bought a house near his new school using the insurance money, the same money that cost Marcus his life to secure Tyler's future. Dr. Roberts continued Tyler's therapy. Slowly, he was healing. Nightmares came, less frequently. He laughed more often. He'd made friends at school. On a warm Saturday, I was teaching Tyler to change oil in my pickup truck. His small hands gripped the wrench as I guided him through the process the same way I'd taught Marcus 30 years earlier. Grandpa, Tyler said, face smudged with grease, but smiling, do you think Daddy would be proud of me? Son, I said, ruffling his hair, your daddy would be so proud he'd cry happy tears. Tyler laughed a genuine, joyful sound that filled the garage and my heart. In that moment, I knew we'd be okay. The road ahead wouldn't be easy, but we had each other. From the bottom of my heart, I want to tell you who followed my story, that family should never be taken for granted. A single moment of greed can destroy everything. But I also learned that love endures, that justice prevails when you fight for it, and that healing is possible even after the darkest tragedy. Tyler still asks about his father sometimes, and I tell him stories about the good man Marcus was devoted, hardworking, loving. Those memories keep Marcus alive for both of us. The insurance money Brittany killed for now pays for Tyler's education, his therapy, our new beginning. There's bitter irony in that, but also hope. Something good came from something terrible. Marcus is gone, but his son will grow up knowing he was loved and protected. That's a promise I'll keep for the rest of my life. Sometimes when Tyler laughs or shows kindness to others, I see Marcus in him, and I know that love truly does conquer all. This painful journey taught me that betrayal, that stories expose who people truly are when tested by greed. Brittany's choice to value money over family didn't just destroy Marcus. It shattered a child's world and revealed how far desperation can corrupt the human heart. I know God guided me to that house at the exact moment Tyler needed rescue. Without divine intervention, my grandson might not have survived those terrible days. Even in darkness, the Lord's grace carried us toward light and healing. These grandpa stories remind us that love doesn't retire at 64. God gave me unexpected strength to seek justice and wisdom to help Tyler rebuild his shattered innocence. Sometimes he calls us to battles we never imagined fighting. What strikes me about betrayal stories is how they reveal true character under pressure. Derek chose confession over continued deception. Brittany remained defiant to the bitter end. But through every courtroom moment, God's justice prevailed over human evil. These grandpa stories aren't just about tragedy. They're about redemption, second chances, and our sacred responsibility to protect the innocent. Tyler's laughter in my garage proved that healing follows heartbreak when love leads the way. If this story touched your soul, hit subscribe and share it with someone who needs hope. Drop a comment telling us where you're from. Knowing our message reaches families worldwide fills this grandfather's heart with purpose and gratitude.